of cannabis. Only on CannabisRadio.com when we return.
Your connection to quality cannabis insurance services is spelled K-A-E-R-C-H-E-R. That's Karcher Insurance. We have worked with ventures like cannabis for over 60 years. We're proud to represent over 50 companies with tailor-made cannabis plans for owners just like you to insure your product, your plants, and your pursuits. K-A-E-R-C-H-E-R spells out their full-service insurance services ranging from commercial to bonds, to personal, from life to health, and more. Contact the team at KarcherInsurance.com and let our experience work for you. That's K-A-E-R-C-H-E-R Insurance.com.
Contact Karen and the team at Karcher Insurance at 1-844-421-3560. That's 844-421-3560.
MJWellness.com, the largest medical marijuana community in the world. Connect with thousands of patients, doctors, industry leaders, and businesses through shared personal experiences along our worldwide network. Discover new therapies and benefits with content tailored to you. Come grow your network on MJWellness.com. You're not alone. Your wellness matters. Learn, live, and thrive. Check out MJWellness.com today.
From high atop Mount Soledad in San Diego, California, 100 feet above sea level. Good morning. It's good news with cannabis nurse Heather.
This plant is amazing. Positive change is happening. We did it. No matter who you are, you can make a positive impact on the world.
I would rather be illegally alive than legally dead.
And that quote helped to give you strength.
Nurse Heather is only on CannabisRadio.com.
Good morning, cannabis nurse Heather.
Chronicling the latest cannabis industry news and headlines. Welcome back to the State of Cannabis, only on CannabisRadio.com. Once again, here's Dave Inman.
Welcome back to the State of Cannabis. I'm your host, Dave Inman. With us tonight, we have Guy Bertuzzi. Guy, as we had mentioned, is the publisher of Elevate NV magazine. This is actually a publication that gets mailed out. So it's not just an e-zine or a digital copy, which you can definitely get digital. But for the folks that like to touch and feel, you get this in your hand. In this publication, you can find it at elevatenv.com. Guy, thanks for coming on the show. So we've been talking about a couple of different topics, ranging from magazines to Melissa Etheridge to cancer. So you're in Nevada now, and probably one of the freest, I would say, states in the union. Matter of fact, I want to say last time I was there, it was 8 o'clock in the morning. I was at a trade show for my day-to-day job. There was a gentleman walking across the street with a six-pack in each hand and drinking, So, I mean, this is something that I find actually kind of preposterous that it couldn't just be called what it is. So your initiative there is called what again?
Elevate. Wait, I was going to actually mention, you were talking about the 2 six-packs. I've seen people walk out of nightclubs with white powder all over their nose.
It's not a powdered donut is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not a powdered donut. And for patients, or even once we get to adult usage recreational, for them to have the difficulty to get it, it's just asinine. It's absolutely asinine. But I am proud of the state of Nevada because we are trying to create regulations for the rest of the world to make it safe for users. We are trying to create laboratory standards. But with those delays, it's making it very, very hard for patients to get it. And the pricing right now is pretty high, which the patients are incurring those prices right now. There's only currently, as of today, there's only one dispensary open in Las Vegas. Within the next 3 to 4 weeks, there should be another half dozen.
And previously, the landscape of Las Vegas for medical use was pretty much you grew it yourself, and that was that, right?
It was passed in 2001, I believe. You're allowed to grow 12 plants, carry 2.5 ounces.
And that was that. There was no dispensaries. There was no framework for the future, basically, of if you wanted to use it, you could do it yourself. You could figure out how to make it happen or potentially maybe get from a caregiver, correct?
Yes, you get a caregiver. But it's funny because with the laboratories doing their first runs of testing, rumor mill has it, which I don't want to even say it's rumor mill because I've known for factual, a lot of the product that was from home growers that were being delivered to cultivations had mold, had pesticides, really dangerous, and we've been utilizing it for years. And don't get me wrong, but you never think about that when you're actually smoking it. That's why I am very proud of Nevada, of the standards we're trying to create for the country.
Well, standards are absolutely important. I definitely find regulation paramount. I've mentioned it before. Everything in our society is regulated, from the tomatoes we eat to the socks on our feet.
Yeah.
And it kind of has to be, because, if not, then the next thing you know, you're going to have 4-year-old kids making the socks for you. So there has to be some kind of regulation. There has to be standards and guidelines. You have to have, you walk into a restaurant, you have to have a light bulb that, is covered in plastic. So that way, if it breaks over whatever you're eating, it didn't get all in your food. We have standards for a reason. And, the fact that, even if you look over at Washington, D.C., and they're honestly what I think is the most beautiful thing that could happen, if only it could stay. But it's a grow and give. Nobody can sell it. You can have it, you can give it, and that's it.
Give it.
And, if only our society could embrace that type of shift, back to what our roots were. But the sad fact is that will never happen, that we just find ourselves in that same space where we trade a wheel of cheese for a set of gloves that somebody just knitted.
Well, so I think we're truly going to get there, though. I do truly think we're going to get there. If we do it right, we will get there. It's been almost a rite of passage most of our life. Everybody, I got to tell you, the recent poll had that 44% of all Americans admitted to using marijuana or cannabis.
That sounds a lot higher than the 10% they're claiming.
Well, I think when you look at it, all the people that are still afraid to admit it, that gets closer to 70 or 80%. I could tell you honestly, 1 out of 2 people I know constantly use it, let alone 1 out of 2, I would say 2 out of 2 have tried it.
I'll say that even if it was only 20% of all of the U.S. citizens have actually tried it, that constitutes most country sizes. That's 60 million people that claim that they try it. And again, I'm with you. I think that the actual number of people is probably much, much higher. They have things that they have to worry about, whether it's their religious leader, whether it's their bosses, their doctor, their significant others. And it really, what it boils down to is figuring out how to beat the stigma that for 80 years has been building and building and building. And what do we do? What do we make changes for to fix this? And I dive back into things that you're doing with this publication. That it's not just check out this coolest new pipe, check out this or that. This is how you can be better. This is how you can find new solace for yourself, both medical and lifestyle. And I find this to be beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. And it's true, because people relate to other people. And that's how you're going to remove that stigma. When people hear about, a lot of our articles start with, I never thought I would try cannabis. Never in my life. I was so anti it. Then I got cancer. Nothing else was helping. And then I tried it, and now I'm the biggest supporter of it. And that's how we're going to get to people. That's how we're going to let people know. People that have high anxiety or high-strung jobs, when they get home, this is better than a glass of wine or a glass of vodka. This is safer. It takes that edge off. It's something that it's preventative medicine for anywhere from diabetes to Alzheimer's. It works as preventative medicine as well. This is healthy for you. One of my favorite things that I've read over the last year, when Texas was passing it through and the congressman who's a conservative Christian comes out and says, God would never make a bad plant. Why can't all the other religious leaders jump on board with that? Because he's right.
It takes a town, and it's going to take all of us to chorus so that that sound resonates more and more and louder and louder. And quite frankly, Guy, we need folks like you that are prepped and ready and stalwart champions of this cause to help motivate and move this forward. And we're out of time, Guy. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. So many wonderful, beautiful topics. Got to have you on the show again.
Thank you, and I thank you for having me. And when you're in Vegas, please come visit me.
Oh, I can guarantee that's going to happen. So we'll make sure and exchange information. And I try to go there at least once every 2 years, but that's probably my limit.
Living here is not as easy. Living here, I should only come once every 2 years.
I'm with you there, my friend. I'm with you there. So, and thank you, everyone, for joining us for this edition of the State of Cannabis. You can download past episodes of our program by going to cannabisradio.com or subscribing to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Also, you can follow the show on Facebook and Google+. Don't forget to like and comment. I'm your host, Dave Inman. We'll talk with you soon.
The opinions expressed on this CannabisRadio.com program are those of the guests and hosts and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff and management of CannabisRadio.com. Any rebroadcast or redistribution without proper consent of CannabisRadio.com is prohibited. Forwarding the cause of legalization and research of the growing cannabis industry, one podcast at a time. The Cannabis Radio Network.
BBC News with David Austin. Egypt says it was not told in advance about Britain's decision to suspend flights from the resort of Sharm el-Sheikh. A senior official told the BBC that the issue would dominate today's meeting in London between the British Prime Minister David Cameron and the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Russia has described the British theory as speculation and says it's still investigating the cause of the disaster. The opposition leader in Myanmar, Aung San Suu Kyi, has said she will run the government if her party wins the country's first openly contested election in 25 years. Myanmar's military-drafted constitution bars her from the presidency, but she said she would head the government and appoint a president who would work in accordance with her party's policies. The Real Madrid football star Karim Benzema is appearing before an investigating magistrate in France today as part of an alleged blackmail case. Investigators want to determine if Benzema had any involvement in an attempt to extort money from his fellow French international Mathieu Valbuena after a sex tape got into the hands of suspected blackmailers. The U.S. Defense Secretary Ash Carter has visited a U.S. aircraft carrier in the South China Sea. China's foreign ministry described the visit as provocative and a threat to the sovereignty and security of other countries. Meanwhile, China's President Xi Jinping is beginning a 2-day visit to Vietnam. It comes at a time of tensions between the two countries over disputed territory in the South China Sea. A district in the Japanese capital Tokyo has issued the country's first certificate recognizing same-sex partnerships. The certificates don't have the legal status of marriage, but they're designed to encourage landlords and hospitals to treat same-sex couples in the same way as married ones. And those are the latest stories from BBC News.
Your connection to quality cannabis insurance services is spelled K-A-E-R-C-H-E-R. That's Karcher Insurance. We have worked with ventures like cannabis for over 60 years. We're proud to represent over 50 companies with tailor-made cannabis plans for owners just like you to insure your product, your plants, and your pursuits. K-A-E-R-C-H-E-R spells out their full-service insurance services ranging from commercial to bonds, to personal, from life to health, and more. Contact the team at KarcherInsurance.com and let our experience work for you. That's K-A-E-R-C-H-E-R Insurance.com.
Contact Karen and the team at Karcher Insurance at 1-844-421-3560. That's 844-421-3560.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. UK Prime Minister David Cameron is hosting Egypt's President Sisi for talks in London as Britain grounds its flights out of Sharm el-Sheikh over security concerns. Britain's Foreign Secretary now says there is a significant possibility the crash of a Russian plane in Egypt was caused by a bomb. The flight from Sharm el-Sheikh to St. Petersburg came down with 224 people on board, all of whom died. Egypt has dismissed claims a militant group with links to the Islamic State could have been responsible. Rachel Venables is at Luton Airport, from where flights to Sharm el-Sheikh have been cancelled.
Any of the passengers who turn up, they will be told to just go back home. That's as the government try and work out if the Russian airliner was brought down by a bomb on Saturday. So a plane full of passengers which did leave Luton under 24 hours ago. A flight left yesterday on time, and all of the people who arrived in Sharm el Sheikh just after 6 yesterday would have got off the plane, basically got down the steps.